And thank you for tuning in. You are listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm your host, Daniel Davis. With us here on the program today is Dr. Sanjay Kapoor. He's the scientific director at ZRT Laboratory in Beaverton, Oregon. ZRT recently introduced a comprehensive new blood spot test that determines people's risk for heart disease. As scientific director at ZRT Lab, Dr. Kapoor has directed numerous research projects that's influenced the development of this innovative new test. He received his doctorate in life sciences from India in 1993 and throughout his career has led numerous biomedical research studies related to heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and cancer. Today, Dr. Kapoor is going to be talking with us about heart health and the importance of testing for those of us over 50. And I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program our guest, Dr. Sanjay Kapoor. And Dr. Sanjay Kapoor, thank you for joining us here on the program today.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for having me.
Now, heart disease, I remember the first time I was told about it I believe, about the 6th grade, and it was pretty alarming. There was a doctor who came in. It was one of the students whose father was a doctor. Actually, he was an expert in hypothermia, but he was talking about, take a look around you in the classroom here. 1 out of every 2 of you, by the time you're in your 50s, will probably die from heart disease-related illness. And I thought to myself, God, just getting out of the gate and I'm already going to be marked here. What's up with that?
That's true. That's very sad.
So let's talk about why that is and what causes us to sort of see almost an end at the tunnel when we're approaching, what becomes some of the best years of our lives.
See, Daniel, this is really sad, as you mentioned. Most of us are at risk today of developing one of these conditions, type 2 diabetes, heart disease. It's all about the lifestyle. It's all about the food that we eat today. It's all about the environment that we have created for ourselves today. And it's all about what we are trying to create for our next generations and the generations to follow. I strongly think that with all these technological advancements that we've made so far, are we really going in the right direction? Are we creating a better world for us, better world for our children? Usually, they used to say that we are what we eat, and we look like what our ancestors looked like. But I think now things have changed. I believe that it's all about our genes and the interactions that we have with the environment. And the sad part is that our genes have not evolved at much faster rate that our environment has changed. With all these fast foods and the synthetic foods that we have created, I think this is what is changing the environment. And we are all worried about making money, Daniel.
Yeah.
We are just running all day long. And I was just looking at the statistics that how many of us get 8 hours or 9 hours of sleep that our ancestors used to get. I mean, they used to sleep for on an average of 9 hours a day back in 1930s, 40s. But now, do you know, average, we sleep about 7.5 hours on an average, which is probably not enough. So, having been said this is the environment that we have created, the stress because of the environment that we have created, which is leading to all these conditions.
I know it sounds interesting because, a lot of the topics we do on our show, it seems that when it comes to the middle-aged crowd, if you will, they seem to be trying to redefine themselves, starting business for themselves. The idea of building wealth is another thing that usually is on the horizon. But just as you're talking about, it's one of those things that actually add on to what may already have as far as stressful lives. And you wonder, what's the urgency for that? And we're led to believe that, this is kind of like the end of the rope and time's running out. And it seems that what we should be doing is slowing things down and gaining wisdom and learning from that rather than trying to be in such a hurry, with the short time that we think that we have left to be able to do all of these things.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about some of the stresses. I know that you kind of talked about some of them. You know, there was the dietary stress. There's a stress about getting out there and making money. There's just a whole load of them. But what are some of the common stresses that can lead to heart disease?
Oh, that is a good question. Some of us don't even know that we are stressed out. Yeah.
We got so used to it.
Oh, that is true. I mean, some of us are so used to our routine that we don't even think that this is acting, or something in our routine is acting as a stress, and it's changing the whole thing in our bodies. I mean, we first of all, we need to understand what is stress. So, I mean, we talk about this word, we use this word so often, but do we really know what this means, or what exactly, how we can define actually the stress? So, what I would put it this way is that stress is basically any change in our body. It could be in response to any physical or emotional or any changes in the environment. So our body responds to it, to any kind of stimulus, to any kind of reaction. So our body responds to those stimuli, and those things we call as stressors. As we just started talking about what causes the stress in our lifestyle. So these stressors can be any kind, any minor changes in lifestyle, or any major changes, or it could be even a combination of both. Say, for example, if somebody is sick in the family, if there's a personal sickness, there's any problems with relationships, there is death of a loved one, somebody lost a job, work overload, any kind of financial problems, legal problems, all those things, these we know cause stress, and these are all common stressors that we know. Some of us actually, we don't even, let's say, even if we are not exposed to any kind of common stressors, some of us are good at creating stressors for ourselves, and that we hardly get to know that we are our own problems. We create stress for ourselves.
Now, it's really interesting as you talk about that, because some of the many topics that we've covered is about the mind and body connection. And it's, as a Buddhist saying goes, you become what you think, and you realize that your mind tends to run things quite a bit throughout the day, and most of the time you're not even aware of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so we basically need to stop and reassess. We need to stop for some time and think that what are we going through on everyday basis, short-term stresses, long-term stresses. So we need to basically identify whether there are any signs or symptoms of stress. So we should be smart enough to recognize those signals. Our body is very smart, Daniel. I mean, it gives us warning signals whenever there's any stress. And these signals that we must slow down, or we should just take a break, so that we don't get into any future complications, so that we don't create any complications or diseases or disorders related to stress for ourselves.
Yeah, it's really amazing, like I was saying earlier, what we tend to get used to. Now, how do hormones play a big role as far as perhaps helping to maintain or even reduce stress, or do they?
Hormones have a very, very significant role in our everyday health and actually overall wellness. I mean, even though these hormones are present in very, very small amounts, they have very, very significant effect on each individual cell, single cell in our bodies. And all these hormones have their individual effects, but at the same time, they also interact with each other to produce big, significant, dramatic effects in the body. And because of these interactions, they are able to control several functions of different systems within the body. Now, talking about stress, I'm sure you heard about the hormone cortisol, which is called as a stress hormone. There are some glands in our body, adrenal glands. Those are located right above the kidneys. And these adrenals, they produce a hormone, what we just talked about, cortisol. And this cortisol actually does a lot of good things, like it helps in glucose metabolism, sugar control in the blood. It controls blood pressure. It also participates in immunity, and it has been known to help in the inflammatory response in our bodies. So this cortisol is actually present in very high levels in the morning, and as the day goes by, the levels go down, and it's lowest at night. So stress actually causes the cortisol levels to go up, and this is the reason that cortisol is also called as the stress hormone. And any small increase in the cortisol level is actually good for the body. It's because of it provides a quick burst of energy for survival reasons. I'm sure you heard about this phrase, a fight or flight response.
Right.
That nature has given us, humans and animals, this property of fight or flight response. So whenever there's a sudden increase in the cortisol, our body gets a boost of energy to respond to the stimulus. And so we either fight or run away. I mean, it's always better to run away, but this is how the cortisol actually helps our bodies to respond to any kind of stress.
Yeah,
actually, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, I was going to say real quick that when we talk about fight or flight, what's amazing when you think about how a person thinks throughout the day, that a lot of times they're just thoughts that cause you to sometimes be in that state, when no real danger really exists.
Absolutely. See, that's why I mentioned when we started talking that some of us, we just create stress for ourselves. We create those stressors, unnecessary stress that we need to identify. And the problem is that this morning cortisol, when it goes up, and if we expose ourselves to any kind of stress, whether it is something that we cannot help or if something that we create for ourselves, and this cortisol level is supposed to go down. But when the cortisol level remains high in blood for a long time, it can do a lot of things, like it can impair thyroid function. It can impair our cognitive abilities. It can lead to blood sugar imbalance. It can raise your blood pressure. It can lower your immunity, and all kinds of problems related with that.
Now, I was going to ask you, when it comes to stress, what are some signs or symptoms that people tend to experience when they feel that they're under stress?
There's the stress can be put into different categories: internal stress, environmental stress, emotional stress. I mean, all kinds of different types of stress. And as I said, that our body is really, really smart. It gives us warning signals and symptoms that we should be smart enough to recognize. For example, some of the signals like general aches and pains, dizziness, headaches, if the stomach is upset, indigestion, muscle tension, tiredness. Well, we all get tired, but if it is a little more than what it should be, we should be alarmed. Our palms get sweaty when we are stressed out. We feel exhausted. Any kind of shaking or trembling is a sign of stress. In terms of long-term stress, we can see excessive weight gain, or there is sudden weight loss, those kinds of things. And then if we think, or if people that we live with, they think that we are not able to make good decisions, that is alarming. And sometimes we start to forget things very soon. The stress, the high cortisol levels, they start to affect our memory. We cannot concentrate well. There is lack of creativity. We lose our sense of humor, if there is any. So and many of us at work, we feel that we don't have a lot of authority. We feel loss of power. We become very moody. There is negative thinking. We feel depressed, sadness, loneliness, all those kinds of things. We get less social. So whenever these symptoms start to appear, we need to do something about it.
Like I said, it just seems so amazing that in this world that we seem to be just almost trapped at times with something that would actually cause heart disease, and you wonder, is there any way out of it? But there actually is, and I kind of wonder, if a person has an onset of heart disease, is it possible to reverse this now with what we know in science and medicine?
Well, we can definitely do something about it. We can control any problems that we have related to heart disease. I'm not very sure if I have seen a lot of studies where scientists have been able to reverse the condition, but yes, we have been able to manage the condition. But I'm a very, very strong advocate of prevention. So we basically should not wait to see until these symptoms start to appear. I mean, all of us, we should be aware that we live in this world, in this technologically advanced world, where we are exposed to different stressors every day, and we should be proactive. We should be working towards prevention rather than wait for our doctor to tell us that, hey, you need to go back and do this. Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I know it seems funny that we never go to the doctor until there's something wrong rather than just going for maybe a routine checkup once or twice a year and learning how to cope with stress. And let's talk about some of the ways that people can actually reduce stress or perhaps even hopefully eliminate it altogether.
It's very easy. It's very easy, Daniel. It's all about making very, very simple lifestyle changes, dietary habits. We need to stop and think and look at what we are eating and what we are drinking on an everyday basis. And first of all, overeating is not good. Sometimes it's okay to say no if somebody forces you to eat or drink or take alcohol for that matter. Well, American Diabetes Association says that moderate alcohol consumption is okay. But if you ask me personally, I would say no alcohol is good if you really want to stay healthy and stress-free. Stop smoking. People who smoke, I mean, we all know, we are all aware of risks associated with smoking. And then exercise, work out regularly. As I always say that when I try to connect these lifestyle changes with the cortisol levels. When the cortisol levels go up, our body is made in such a way that we need to bring those cortisol levels down to normal levels. And if you're not able to do that, we can't get through. So to do that, whenever there's more stress, high cortisol levels, so if we can work out, we can do some physical activity, we can bring it down and then bring those cortisol levels back to normal, so that they don't do any harm. And like it's not important to keep exercising all day long. In fact, that is also bad because that is again acts as a stressor. Oh yes.
I mean, look at the runner Jim Thicke.
Right.
You know, he was a guy who was supposedly in great shape, but he was actually a mess.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I have a friend who doesn't listen to me. I hope he's listening to this interview. He keeps working all day long and thinking that he's going to look like something, maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anyways, let me not go there. So what I'm trying to say is, don't worry about the stressors. Well, we need to recognize the importance of those stressors, but do not just over worry, especially things that you just cannot control. Just leave those behind, and time is a big healer, Daniel. I mean, time heals everything, and basically what we need to do is just reduce the cause of the stress. I know sometimes we feel that there's so much to do, but there's so little time. So time management also works very, very effectively in reducing the overall set. I mean, set goals and set your priorities, and it's okay to ask for help. I mean, some of us we take on too much, and we try to do it all. I mean, we think that we are capable of doing it all, especially at work. I mean, it's okay to delegate responsibilities and to trust others and let them take on some of your responsibilities and jobs. You share work. Make sure you set realistic goals for yourself, for people working with you. And the most important is that we need to keep a very high self-esteem and keep a strong belief in ourselves. We should always remember that whatever we do the best, and just leave the rest to the time. And then get enough rest and relax. And that's why they said, sit back and relax.
Take it easy.
Absolutely. Take it easy.
You know, one thing, too, when we were talking about stress indicators that I used to notice about myself, and I would think this would be probably true for a lot of people, is when you start thinking those troubling thoughts or you feel like you're in a situation that seems overwhelming, your breathing tends to become more shallow. And I mean, that's like one of the first steps right there, is that tenseness that you feel. Go into it and kind of say, hey, let's look at this situation for a moment. Let's just take it easy and relax and sort of untense yourself. And it's amazing how you have those same experiences when you're watching a movie.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Those are the short-term stresses. So for the short-term stresses, we say, stop, breathe. So, I mean, relaxing, when I say relax, it's not just sitting quietly. Relaxing is basically a learned skill. I mean, it takes some commitment and practice because when we say relax, it's all about relaxing your body as well as your mind. So it's establishing that mind-body connection to calm down and to stop and then breathe. And feel that breathing process while slowly breathing in and then exhale slowly. And try to make it a habit. Try to do it 2 or 3 times a day. Even though you don't feel stressed, it's okay to just sit quietly, shut your eyes, and deep breathing. And feel that breathing process. I mean, you can focus on maybe a navel, and close your eyes, put your hands on top of your belly, lay down maybe, and just slowly take a deep breath and hold on there for a couple seconds, and then exhale very slowly. And block your mind to any kind of external thoughts that might interfere in this process.
Now, when it comes to the test that ZRT Lab offers, what exactly does a person need to do, and what does it look for? What does it show up as?
These are excellent tests that ZRT has developed, both in saliva and the blood spot. ZRT Lab is mainly all about overall health and wellness and hormone balance. Connected with overall health and wellness. And as I said, we should not wait until it is too late. We should not wait to see the symptoms. And these tests can be taken at the convenience of your home, or your doctor can do at their office. It's very simple, very easy. These are test kits that people can order through online, or they can call in ZRT. And when a person receives the kit, they collect their own sample in the convenience of their own home, in the privacy. And these saliva test is completely non-invasive, very simple to collect. And blood spot test is minimally invasive. It's a simple finger prick and collection of actually 2 or 3 drops of blood on a card, and the card is dried and mailed back to the lab. And then the lab analyzes all the tests and all the samples, and the results are mailed back to the provider, the doctor.
Well, that's excellent. It's just good to know that there are ways that you can, detect and also prevent, but it's just a matter of a person actually taking the necessary steps, being willing to commit to doing what's necessary so that you don't really have to ever have this problem. And I kind of wonder, how long does an average person actually live if they are to actually balance themselves to do, I guess, what you would consider to be the right things?
Absolutely. It's all about taking action, being proactive, moving towards prevention. And as I said earlier in our discussion, that we should never wait for our doctor to tell us that there's something wrong with you. I always compare this with the tip of the iceberg that the doctor sees. I mean, tip of the iceberg I compare with the disease condition like diabetes or heart disease. But what goes under that iceberg is all that only you as an individual can recognize. Your doctor doesn't see that. And it takes about 5 to 10 years before you actually start seeing the symptoms of diabetes or heart disease. Mm-hmm. In those 5 to 10 years, if you are proactive, you take charge of your own health and wellness and keep monitoring yourself for any changes or any imbalances in these hormones, and if you're proactive, you can take control of that iceberg, you can take control of your condition, and you can avoid those big problems like diabetes and heart disease. Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on to the Beyond 50 radio program. It seems like, that the answers are so obvious, but people just kind of choose to go a different direction, and we certainly really try to want them to go in the right direction here, so you don't have to be as that doctor had told me back in the 6th grade. 1 out of every 2 of you are probably going to die from a cardiac malfunction. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm only in the 6th grade. I'm not ready to die yet. It was scary. It was actually quite alarming. So, and thank you for being on the program today. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Daniel.
You bet. And go ahead and give out a website real quick, Dr. Sanjay, so people can find out more about the testing and so forth.
The website address is www.zrtlab.com. It's zrtlab.com. And people can also reach me directly if they have any questions at skapur, skapur, @zrtlab.com. They can email me directly if they have any kind of questions.
Well, very good. Again, thank you for joining us here on the program. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. I want to also thank you, the guests out there, for tuning in. You've been listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. And be sure to visit us at our website at www.beyond50radio.com to find out more about what we're up to, and also be sure to sign up for our free weekly e-newsletter. Also, I would like to thank the following sponsor for making this program possible, and that is ZRT Laboratory. If you are suffering from hot flashes, foggy thinking, sudden weight gain, low libido, ZRT Laboratory, the forerunner in hormone testing, is your first step toward ending these troublesome symptoms. Just simply visit them at their website at zrtlab.com to find out how their home collection kits can help detect and correct hidden hormone imbalances. Let testing be your guide to symptom relief and life-changing solutions that begin with you. Also, be sure that you guide with a physician. Thank you again for tuning in. You've been listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis, and remember, live your day past halfway.